Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Coming up next on Ghana Tonight, the United States has pledged support for Ghana's extradition of Kenneth Nanaya Ofori and Sedinam Tamaklo. That is the information that we got. In fact, an update of this particular one from the Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. He posted on his Facebook handle earlier today. And this is it. It's going to be on the screen right now. Yesterday, we conducted a comprehensive assessment of our Ghana-U.S. bilateral relations and agreed on priority areas for cooperation in 2026. The meeting which I hosted at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs also reviewed the significant progress we made in 2025. Acting U.S. Ambassador Rolf Olsen led the U.S. team. We welcomed our successful negotiations with exempted Ghana from President Trump's visa sanctions. Ghana will continue to be exempted from visa sanctions and some $15,000 visa bonds imposed on other countries. Now, we'll come to this because there's been another development with regards to processing of visas, and it's more of a temporary ban. And Ghana is part of the list, and we'll tell you the context and the reason why. But this is it. Okudzeto Ablakwa says the meeting acknowledged the removal of President Trump's 15% tariff on a wide range of unprocessed and semi-processed agricultural products from Ghana and expressed satisfaction with its implementation thus far. They conveyed another great news, specifically relating to the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. The House of Representatives voted massively on Monday, 340 to 54, to extend AGOA. So that's good news for the business community, especially those engaged in exports to the United States. So that's the development in there. There's been an extension of AGOA, the duty-free access to the United States market for eligible sub-Saharan countries, including Ghana. And on World Cup preparations, they assured that the special measures have been put in place to expedite visa applications. This is also expected to address the current delays in securing visa appointments, which we all agreed must be fixed. So the embassy says they would address a press conference on the new World Cup visa application initiative very soon, those of you interested. And a number of things as well that they touched on, which related to, and this is where the matter of interest is. The United States applauded Ghana's improved security and law enforcement cooperation, leading to the extradition of 9 suspects from Ghana to the U.S. in 2025, and the ongoing commendable efforts to also send over 2 Ghanaians of high interest from the U.S. to Ghana. And these 2 Ghanaians of high interest, the Honorable Foreign Affairs Minister gives details. He says the United States government has assured that without prejudice to judicial processes, it will not stand in the way of Ghana as regards the removal of Ken Ofori and Sedinam Tamaklo Ationu. Our engagement confirmed recent payments to the U.S. company. So this is where the major focus is, this one. So he says that the U.S. has given that assurance they are not going to stand in the way of Ghana as regards the removal of Ken Ofori and Sedinam Tamaklo Ationu from the United States. Professor Bafo Agyemang is a governance expert, senior governance advisor to the United Nations, a former senior governance advisor for that matter, is joining us on Zoom. Professor Bafo Agyemang, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And then this is what we're learning right now from the United States engagement with the Foreign Affairs Minister. But then again, I've been speaking to some persons who are of the view that with all what is playing out now, and we're getting to know of the FBI involvement of a sort in all what is happening to Ken Ofori, he brought this upon himself, you say?
In a way, yes, because for a very long time, I have been considering this, and I thought if Ken had willingly presented himself to Ghanaian authorities, all this would not have happened. In fact, recognizing his medical situation, if it were possible for him to travel, to just present himself, and then ask for a special permission from the courts to go and attend to his medical situation, I think he could have avoided all this. Look, I know Ken personally, not as a close friend, but he knows me. I know him very well. He's a decent man. And I think decency does not mean competency. Let me put it that way. Because the way he managed the economy certainly wasn't the best for the country. So if the state has reasons to question you on what went wrong under your stewardship, the best thing to do as a patriot was to come and answer the questions. Of course, I know that his lawyers argue strongly on his medical grounds. And once he was able to travel, I think he should have, because being home and to be arrested from your residence and FBI getting involved and all that, it really muddies the waters for him. And I feel a little bit pain that this issue has traveled this far. And I really sympathize with it. But I think by not acting appropriately as a patriot, someone who has served your country with diligence, and something going wrong, he should have simply come, face the state, and let's see how the court will have managed. But so far, I think the way, I don't know whether it was the advice of the lawyers, but if it was a medical problem, I think he should have still found a way to answer to the state.
And I reference what the United States has been talking about now, and the fact that they are not going to block Ghana in having Ken Ofori back in the country if the courts eventually rule for that matter. If you had the ears of his lawyers, you'd urge them to have him come home? Is this what you're going on about?
I don't know about investments in Ghana. Sorry, in the United States. But the thing is, sure, America always tells the world it's a country of the rule of law. But lately, as you know, under this particular administration in that country, there have been so many infringements of the law locally and internationally. But if the assurance has been given and they want the law to take its course, then I'm sure Mr. Ofori will also utilize all available means to use the law to his advantage. So if that's what the American government says, it's a good assurance. Let's understand he's going to go to the immigration court on the 20th of the month. Mm-hmm. Thereafter, I think we'll know exactly what his situation, his condition in the United States will be.
I see. And in fact, that is the assurance they've given. And this is captured in the Foreign Affairs Minister, Samuel Okudzeto Blackwell's statement. And we're going to put that part of it on the screen right now. Professor Bafa. So indeed, they give that assurance that they will not stand in the way of Ghana as regards the removal of Ken Ofori and Sedinam Tamaklo. You know, that's what the Foreign Affairs Minister is reporting to us. Now, would you impress on him to decide to come home and possibly cut short the ordeal that he is going through in the United States, which is an option for him, by the way, Prof?
Certainly, if I have a way of advising him, I will simply say, Ken, just come home. I'm not this your country. You know this country. You are not going to be thrown into the lion's den as soon as you arrive. I think that the state would be decent to him more than the Americans would, because you know America, when they call people, they put chains around their hips, on their hands, and even on their legs. And if they put you on the plane, you'll be in chains until you arrive. That is inhumane treatment of people, but that's what America does. I don't think Ghana will have that. So I think we're more comfortable in his own country to be tried, if that's the case, by his own country, than this ordeal in the United States, or you are placed under detention. In Ghana, if you have been arrested, maybe for a day or two, you have been granted bail, as has been the case with all people who have been accused. Once you're on bail, you live in your home, the comfort of your home, and not in a solitary detention room in America. So I think the lawyers will find a way, for Khan to be back home and live a more decent life. He will go to court, of course. If in the wisdom of the justice system, he deserves to be punished, I'm sure he will have to be punished, no doubt. But to just try to skip this basic accountability of public officials, I think he's just worsening his case. But having said that, again, let's remember that so far as we know from his lawyers, he was there on medical grounds. But if the medical condition was that severe, I don't think the U.S. Government or the state will have placed him in a detention. Mm-hmm. Of course, there may be health facilities, but it's not the same as perhaps you get elsewhere. So I seriously think that Ken is better off coming home to face the situation and as a patriot, face the consequences.
I see. Professor Balfour Ajmendia, thank you very much for your thoughts. And let me bring in Martin Pebo, who's a private legal practitioner as well. He's been on the heels of the special prosecutor for, in his words, allowing Ken Ofori-Atta to leave the jurisdiction. And in fact, his petition for his removal, which is we're going to be getting into as our next topic. But Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. You have consistently made the point that to the extent that Ken Ofori-Atta may have some business interest or investment in the United States, the United States government may consider that business interest and not easily release him to Ghana if eventually the court so decide. But taking into consideration that position that you had and what the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is saying today, that the U.S. has assured and giving that assurance that they are not going to stand in the way of Ghana regarding the removal of Ken Ofori-Atta, would you concede?
Yes, Mr. Okansi. So, what I said is still holds. You see, he's saying they will not block it. This is the ambassador. The ambassador doesn't have the final say. This is the first thing. That factor that he has investment is something I'm saying we should always avert our minds to. I've never said that because of it won't happen. I said so it complicates the problem, and that one is true. Somebody who has investments, vast investment in the U.S., as against another potential deportee who has nothing, maybe was just an employee, he has not gathered much. Between the two, obviously the investor will carry more protection. Yes, that one is no-brainer. And like I keep saying, America is attracting investors. So Trump rolled out a new visa scheme for people to come in. You contribute $1 million, you get citizenship, those things. So we cannot just discount it. So this is the ambassador giving his assurance that they will not block it. Yes, so that's heartwarming, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't analyze. And remember, that was before the ambassador made the statement. So you see, like, we're doing a SWOT analysis, where which ones are strengths, which ones are weaknesses, our opportunities, and then strengths, threats. So SWOT kind of analysis. Yes, that's what we would have to always do in a public discourse like this, because it would have looked shallow if we just sat down and say, oh, the Americans will bring. No, we can't do that. We have to analyze based on what we know. Now, the next level of analysis we should be taking notice of is that this is the ambassador giving the assurance. Don't forget, President Trump is the one who has the final say. And today, Trump is one person that if there's anything at all that is certain about Trump, it is the fact that you cannot always predict him. He can say something today, tomorrow he changes his mind. He says something A today, tomorrow it is B. B tomorrow, the next day it changes to C. So it's a good start with the ambassador giving this assurance. But remember that the ambassador doesn't have the final say. And even if Trump assured him today, President Trump can change his mind tomorrow. So for me, in this game, The day I will celebrate will be when the plane takes off from Washington. I'll still not celebrate until it lands in Ghana, and then Ofori Atta is handed over to us. Yes, that's the best way to deal with this matter. Yes, because you cannot predict President Trump, but we are just hoping that he will do us good, he will do us right by bringing down Ofori Atta. And the ambassador's assurance is also a sign that they've noted how this issue is taking a national profile and a national concern. So you see what I've been saying, that we'll go and picket at the U.S. Embassy, etc. So they've seen that we've been dragging their name into the debate so far, letting them know that, look, this extradition is a highly political matter. It's not just legal. Let's repeat. When a judge makes an order for a suspect or an accused person to be extradited, the judge's order is not the final decision. It is subject to what the Secretary of State, that's the U.S., he's our equivalent of Okujeto, the foreign minister.
Right.
And the foreign minister takes his instructions from the president. So that's why I said so. It all depends on Trump. So in the U.S., when it comes to extradition, it's not just a legal matter. It's actually equally political. When you are done with the legal proceedings, the politician, the Secretary of State, or call him the foreign minister, and ipso facto the president, will also have a look at it and decide finally. So this let's continue to watch and continue to hope that they will do right. And Ghanaians, let's continue to put pressure. So the assurance by the ambassador is good, but it doesn't.
On that point, you heard Professor Bafa says, well, if he had the ears of Ken Ofori Atta's lawyers and maybe he himself, he would recommend that he should just give up the fight, come home and account for his period or his tenure in office as finance minister, because he'll be treated better back home in Ghana than the detention center where he is now. Would you agree with that?
I'm not PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal in Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.